Welcome to the spring break edition of the Family Vacationer. You know, snow may still be on the ground where you are, but we are definitely looking ahead to warmer weather. It is not too late to plan your family's fun-filled spring break vacation. So how to plan and where to go? It's all next on the Family Vacationer.
Welcome to the Family Vacationer with Rob and Danny. The go-to podcast for families on the move.
Welcome, friends. I'm Rob.
And I'm Danny.
And this is episode 13 of the Family Vacationer. You know, it won't be long now till warmer weather is upon us, unless you're in Georgia, where we go from snow to 72 degrees in consecutive days.
All 4 seasons in 1 week.
In 1 week. But now is the perfect time to start planning for your family spring break vacation. Let's jump right in and look at some of the questions that you may want to answer to start your planning process.
All right, so Rob, I'm going to throw some questions at you. You're the expert here, the travel man. First of all, when you're looking at going somewhere, you know, there are always those people who are they want to go exactly the number of days they're going to be where they're going.
Right.
You know what I mean? Okay.
You get out on a Friday, you want to leave Saturday, and you want to get back on Sunday, and
right down to the minute.
Yep.
But there are some others, though, that might like a little buffer. So how long do you want to be gone? That's the first question I want to throw at you.
Yeah, I mean, what I found, the older that I get, the more I like a little buffer day or two, you know? Maybe not when we leave, but definitely when we come back, just a chance to unpack. And because the way it works with me, if we get back like on a Sunday night and I've got to go to work on a Monday,
right, my
suitcase may or may not stay on the edge of the bed there at the foot of the bed for 2-3 weeks. Yeah,
exactly. So
that's the one question you want to ask, and it may vary depending upon who's working, who's in school, what age group they belong to. But
absolutely,
that's something to consider.
Yeah, and it's almost like you need a recoup day sometimes, a vacation from vacation.
Yep.
Yeah. Next question I want to throw at you: what is the defining factor in where you go? I mean, is it price? Is it location? Activity?
Yeah, a lot of people, price is the determining factor, and that's totally understandable. That may decide for you where you go, and then again, coupled with how long you want to be gone, that may rule out, for instance, going international. Maybe that's something you want to wait till you have a couple weeks to do. Mm-hmm. So definitely price. Looking at flights now, flights are relatively inexpensive domestically, and there are some international locations as well. So yeah, that's something that you want to ask. And do you want to go skiing? Do you want to go to the beach? That's another determining factor. So yeah, that would be the second question that I'd probably ask.
Now, when you're looking at price, and you talked about airfare a little bit,
mm-hmm.
Yes, are there certain times of the year? And I think I know the answer to this question, but can you help us? Are certain times of the year that you should look for plane tickets for specific flight times?
It really depends on where you're going. So if you're wanting to go to, say, Colorado, obviously when there's snow on the ground, there's a chance that the ticket's going to be a little bit higher than what they consider their off season. Like Vail, I've been to Vail and Breckenridge in the spring, and mm-hmm. obviously there's no snow on the ground. It's beautiful though. I mean, it's still a great place to visit. Now, if you're going to someplace tropical, you understand that there are going to be, when it's high demand, the ticket prices are going to go up. That's just how it works.
Yeah, and you and I were talking a while ago that, going to Costa Rica and in a month or so, snagged some plane tickets, round trip, $375.
Which is a great deal.
It is a great deal. And, I think you have to look at stipulations. One of being, is it refundable, things like that. Mm-hmm. Because, I got these on Southwest, and they've got the want to get away price.
Right.
And so I asked, what's the difference here? And the only difference is it's non-refundable.
Right.
But we're going. So,
yeah.
I mean,
well, even when they say non-refundable, like on Southwest, even if you don't go, if you wind up not going, mm-hmm. you still can have credit on Southwest.
Yeah.
So it's not like you just lose the money.
Yeah.
So that's something to consider when you're looking at different airlines as well. Because not everybody has the same policy.
And you can always back that up with travel insurance.
Travel insurance is something I always, always, always recommend, especially if you're going to someplace new that you're not familiar mm-hmm. with, or if you're going on a cruise.
Yeah.
Any place that you're making a really high investment when it comes to your vacation. Yeah, nobody wants to pay for travel insurance because hopefully it's something that you won't use. But goodness, if you need it and you don't
Yeah.
have it,
That
you're in
hurts.
trouble. It's going to cost you a lot more than it would have had you just, ponied up and bought the travel insurance to begin with. So
Yeah.
it's a tough sell to some folks. 'Cause again, if you're looking at price as the ultimate factor in where you're going on vacation, or if you go on vacation,
Yeah.
a lot of folks are just looking at the price they see when they go online, and they're not considering that there are some other costs involved. So just something to consider when you're planning your vacation.
Right. Okay. Next thing I want to ask you about going places that are familiar or being adventurous and going to new places.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for either of those. Me, I've gone to the Gulf Coast every year since I was 2, and I love it. Actually, that's not true. Last year we didn't go, and I missed it. I missed not being on the Gulf Coast. So, but there's, like my wife is different. She wants to go to new places. She wants to experience things, and it's a little different with us because the dynamic exists that I've been to 46 states and 4 or 5 different countries, and she's been to a handful. So she wants to experience a lot of these different places. But for me, my happy place is sitting, or actually floating in the Gulf waters. I mean, that's my idea of a good time. But that's something you have to consider internally with your family. Is everybody satisfied going to that familiar place, or should you try something new?
And I just want to point out something, just so you'll feel sorry for me.
Yeah.
My wife is on the Gulf Coast right now without me.
Wow. I do feel sorry for you.
So, and that's my favorite water.
Oh man.
The Gulf you can't beat it.
Yeah, no, I do feel my wife took a took a girls trip. I think it was 2 years ago. And I'm happy that she got away, but I'm like, man,
Yeah.
that's someplace I would love to be. So yeah, but anyway, that's something, that's a conversation internally in the family you need to at least have, so that everybody kind of is on the same page when you're looking at planning the vacation.
Yeah, we have a spot on the west coast of Florida that we like to go to. And one of the biggest things we like about it is there are not hundreds and hundreds of people there.
Right.
And that kind of leads me into the next question that I was going to throw at you about traditional spring break destinations.
Right.
Tell me the deal.
Well, now, so if you are a family with small children and you want to go to, let's say, Panama City Beach,
Panama City, yeah.
South Padre Island, Cancun, you have to understand that there are going to be lots of high school and college folks that are there, and their idea of a good time and your idea of a good time might collide.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
In a not so pleasant mix there. So I just think that's something to consider if you are going to a traditional spring break location for high school students and college students, that there's going to be a lot of loud music being played. There's going to be a lot of traffic. There's going to be some people making some bad decisions. And so you have to consider if that's going to get in the way of your relaxation and your downtime with your family. And you don't want to have to have uncomfortable conversations with your young children about what you see going on around you. And so, yeah, that's definitely, and then price too, because like we talked about, if you go to one of these traditional spring break locations, you're going to pay for it because this is when they make their money. So you just need to consider that. And even if you're going to someplace like, we'll talk about Disney, understand that the prices are going to be up. I mean, they fluctuate now, but for high demand, low demand, whatever, and somewhere in between. But spring break, I've been on spring break many times now to Disney and Universal, and it is packed, Now, that being said, there's still ways to have a good time, and there's still ways to make sure that you do all the things that you want to do, but it takes a little more planning. So the earlier that you plan, when I'm talking to people that are planning their vacation, the earlier you plan, the better. It's not too late to plan your spring break vacation, but if you're going to a place that has high demand, you have to understand that there are things you may not get to do because you're already kind of late in the process. So.
Right. Good point. And the sad part is that the people making bad decisions will get our age.
Yes.
And they'll say, what was I thinking?
Yes, absolutely.
You never did anything bad.
Right? No, I was a complete angel. Oh, sorry. No, but yeah, there's what is the line? There's nothing as expensive in life as regret, but Some people only learn the hard way, but you'll see plenty of that going on around there.
I typically refer to myself as the idiot when I think of my 20s. So, you knew me back then. You're probably agreeing with me.
I have a hard time seeing it actually, but hopefully there's no. Luckily, social media did not exist when we were younger, because
there would be some pictures out there.
Yeah, anyway.
I control what's posted at least. Mostly, except for, on Facebook the other day, the picture of me at a party in 7th grade resurfaced.
Nice.
Yeah. At least I was holding a guitar in my hand, so I kind of looked cool for the 80s. Anyway, okay. Moving on.
Yes.
Flying or driving? What do you think?
Again, that really depends on your family, and if you're traveling with small children, either way is going to be a bit of an undertaking, whether you are flying or driving, and you have to consider how far you're going. Again, from where we are here in Atlanta, the Atlanta area down to Disney.
Yeah.
We like to drive a little bit of the way, or half the way, or maybe a little bit over half the way, and then, stay at a hotel in Gainesville or Ocala, somewhere around there, and then get up and drive in, just so that when we get there, the kids aren't having to do like a 7-hour at a time drive.
Yeah.
That doesn't go well with our family. So but again, if we flew, there's still some considerations there flying with small children.
Yes.
That gets a little precarious at times. So it really just depends on knowing your family and how your kids can adapt to the different situations.
Mm-hmm. And, I think it's really, if you are up in the air and you're willing to do either one that works out, get on some of these email lists. You can get on Delta's list. You can get on pretty much all airlines do email lists, or they do feeds on Facebook, social media, and you can snag some cheap deals. I went to Orlando once, and I'm not going to lie, 45 minutes to an hour on a plane.
Yeah.
Sure beat the 7 or 8 hour drive. But if you are going to make the drive, check out our episode on gadgets.
Yes.
One of our early episodes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, also, if you are flying, there are other things to consider. Renting a car when you get there, or if you're going to take Uber.
Yeah.
Again, depending on how small your children are, you have to make sure the Uber has a car seat, or if you're going to take a cab or a shuttle bus, any of that. Those are all things to consider.
All right. Now, this is something I want to ask you, because this probably comes up with lots of families out there. Mm-hmm. Just your family, or will friends and or family be coming along? Because we've done both. That can get fun either way.
Right. Yeah, I have a teenage daughter. She's in college now, and so, if we can, we like to let her have a traveling companion, because it gets a little old for her when we're going to things that placate my 4-year-old and my 9-year-old. It's always better for her to have running buddy to hang out with. But yeah, so if it's extended family, we've traveled with extended family, and the group dynamic changes. So you have to plan for that. And it can be as simple as just the mental preparation of knowing, hey, if you're the person who normally decides where you're going to go eat, what you're going to do that night, that may not be the same dynamic when you're traveling with extended family. You have to be able to yield the floor, and there's nothing worse than being on a family vacation with extended family and some kind of, misunderstanding turns into an argument, and that's not what you want when you're paying all that money to go on vacation.
And you throw out your favorite restaurant name, and somebody says, I don't want seafood.
Right.
You and I
We're at the beach. What do you mean you don't want seafood?
We've talked before about we have our favorite restaurants.
Right.
Oh, man, you got to go. So that you get it in your mind, and don't want anybody to change that plan.
Well, again, let's say you go to the same place every year on vacation, but this year you're going with your extended family. Well, if you've gone with them in years past, this year they may want to try that new restaurant, and that may get in the way of you going to your favorite restaurant. So, again, it's a group dynamic that you need to prepare yourself for. There's also some other questions that you need to ask if you're traveling with friends and family. Does anyone in the group have special needs? That's something that more and more resorts, more and more areas are understanding, that there are needs that they're not servicing, and they're trying to make ground in doing that. So, but that's something you definitely need to plan for. I think, and we were talking about doing a future episode on this, just writing down kind of what your family likes to do on vacation, writing down passport numbers, frequent flyer numbers, all that, so that you're not having to reach for that when you're trying to plan. I think that's important. And then if you're working with a travel agent like myself, you can just give them that.
Yeah.
And that way they know some questions about you. You know, they can kind of check off some boxes ahead of time. Things like what types of accommodations are important to you, or do you prefer a particular chain of hotels? Do you, because I'm more of a Marriott person now.
Okay.
Used to be a Hilton guy. Now I'm a Marriott guy. So, and that kind of changes as you've seen a lot of consolidation in the hotel business. So that changes quite a bit. Do you prefer a hotel, a cabin, a suite? Do you want to go on a cruise? Do you want to find a tree house? Airbnb has opened up like all kinds of possibilities.
You're not kidding. It really, even in the smallest, most remote places, people are opening up their own Airbnbs.
And opening some crazy spaces too. Just I was looking for something maybe for Valentine's Day for my wife and I, and there's just some spaces that you would never consider that, you know, you're never going to rent those through a traditional hotel. So, but, and then what kind of amenities are important to you? Do you want free breakfast? Do you want free parking? Pool? Do you want a kitchenette? I have to say, I have a weird thing about hotels with kitchenettes. I do not like them. I don't care how nice they are. It just weirds me out. I don't know why. It's just one of those weird. So that's something to consider if you have a weird person like me in your family.
If you have Rob with you,
don't get a kitchenette. Because who really uses those? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I had one this past summer. Never used it.
Not one time.
That was out in D.C.
A kitchen is one thing. A kitchenette, it's like a half version. It's like, we're going to throw them this and that. Anyway, I won't go off. Is it important for the activities that you're involved with to be close to where you're staying? That's something to consider. Do you want activities available on site? A lot of resorts have kids programs that are very, very fun for the kids. So is that important to you? Those are all questions just to kind of at least get you started in the planning process.
All right. Let me ask you this. This is a big thing now. Points, hotel points, airline points.
Yes.
All those.
Yeah.
You got to think about those.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, a lot of people, when they're looking at traveling, again, they travel for work and they accrue points. And so when it comes to vacation, now's the time for them to use them. So that's something to consider, you know, or if you're looking at only one chain, even with the consolidation that I've talked about, Marriott, I think, is, as of right now, the biggest conglomeration of hotels.
Yeah.
That'll probably change tomorrow, but it still limits you as to where you can stay if you're trying to use those points. And with the way that airline points work, it's the same with hotels. They only allot so many seats or so many rooms as rewards for points. So that's something that might limit you as far as when you can go, where you can go.
All right. And if you are planning your vacation, all those additional fees. And I think this would probably be more the case if you were flying, but you never know. What are we looking at with extra fees?
Yeah. Well, you've got luggage. Well, and again, a lot of people, they'll go online and they'll consider the things that are obvious. Like if they're looking at a resort, it'll say this amount. And so what they forget is that there are luggage fees. You got airport transfers that not all resorts cover. You've got, are you going to rent a car? Are you going to rent a van? You've got, are you going to Uber? Those are additional costs. Tips. Exactly. Yeah. What kind of clothing? Do you need a new bathing suit? Do you, we're going to go kind of down a rabbit hole here, but as much as you can, buy things like suntan lotion. What else anything that, any of those essentials, buy those from the Dollar General where you're at.
Right.
I'm sure there's one right next to you, or there will be in a week. They multiply like rabbits, but make sure you buy that where you're at, because if you get down to the beach, suntan lotion is going to be about 3 times what it would be where you live. So make sure you do that.
And spray goes fast. I've learned with our kids. You don't want to sit there and lather up for 30 minutes, but good grief, the spray is gone in no time.
Well, my boys are like me. They like to stay in a pool for 6 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love floating in water, you know? But you got to reapply that suntan lotion. If you don't, you're going to have lobsters as kids. And so, but there's travel insurance. That's another fee like we've talked about.
Right.
souvenirs. If you're the big idiot that buys everything around you at Disney, like me, people can't see me pointing at myself, but you got to consider those are going to be, I mean, you can rack up serious money on souvenirs.
And there are ways, though. There are ways to plan ahead with that. You talked about planning early.
Yeah.
Things like the Disney Visa cards. You build up all kinds of points. You get money. And so that's something we've done in the past. We build those up. And my wife is really good about keeping up with those sort of things and keeping track. And so then you can go into one of these shops and say, all right, girls, you have this much money. Pick something out. So
another thing you can do, just talking about Disney, and my wife made fun of me for doing this until we got to the park. So the first time that I used a Disney travel agent, she recommended that I go to Dollar General and buy, it doesn't have to be Dollar General. We're not getting Dollar General money here.
Dollar Tree.
Could be Dollar, could be Walmart, whatever. Yeah. But she suggested that there were a couple things that we should buy before we went. Ponchos.
Yeah.
A light up bubble gun, which you can get for like $2, right?
A light up bubble gun.
Yes. Just, bear with me because I'll.
Okay.
So I bought these things and I made like a first aid kit, right? I got some stuff, threw it in there. We get in the park. Before that, my wife she was seriously why are you buying all that? We get down there, it gets dark, and here come the people pushing the light up stuff.
Yeah. My
son is having a fit. The bubble guns are $20. Now, granted, they have Mickey Mouse on them. I don't know that Mickey's worth $18. But I'm like, oh, hey, I bought you one of these earlier. And I pulled out the thing that I bought, and I gave it to him, and he was completely fine. I looked at my wife. She said, okay.
Who's laughing now?
Exactly. So those are just things that you can do to save a little money on your trip.
And that was genius. I got to hand it to you. That was good.
Well, again, it was the travel agent who she had a bunch of really good suggestions. So the last thing that I had just to consider, and there are more than what we've listed, but these are just some things to think about. But the last one is parking fees and tolls.
Yes.
Again, if you're driving in Florida, I'm trying to think of where some other places, Southern California, you just need to know there's going to be some tolls that you're going to have to pay. So.
Yeah, and a lot of the directions apps like Waze,
yes,
they will tell you those things sometimes.
Yes.
You go ahead and put your route in, even if you don't need to know it. You know the route, go ahead and put it in because it's going to pop that up for you.
And importantly, Waze, you can have the Cookie Monster as your guiding voice.
Absolutely.
So
that's very important for your trip. That's really a lot of fun for about 5 minutes.
Okay, I like it, but
you and your boy likes it, right?
Yeah, my wife rolls her eyes, but she's going to do that to me anyway, so I just, whatever. But
yeah. Okay, all right. I love Cookie Monster on Waze. All right, we talked about planning early.
Yes.
So,
yeah, the earlier you plan, the more time you have to research not only where you're going to go, but what you're going to do when you get there. Some people don't like to do a lot of pre-planning. They like to get to a spot and kind of explore and discover on their own. But there are a lot of people like me that, I'll buy a Frommer's guide, especially if I'm going to someplace like Las Vegas or, I want to know what's new, what's out there. The earlier you plan, you could maybe use a payment plan where you're just paying monthly on your vacation. It also gives time to make some corrections if something comes up.
Yeah.
The later you plan, the more you're likely going to pay. That's something to consider. But all that to say, if you do, like right now, we're a month and a half away from spring break typically. There's still deals that you can find. It's just you may not get the deal to the place that you were thinking about going. So the earlier you plan, the better.
What about off-peak?
Yeah. I mean, I would still plan early because you're going to save even more money. Hotels will look at where they're at on their volume, and they may release deals, if they're not getting the occupancy that they're expecting, that's when they start releasing deals. That's the way, Disney does it. They'll kind of look at their occupancy rates, and if they need to, they'll throw out a deal, and it people gobble it up. So off-peak is great. It's just, it just depends on how early that you look at it and what kind of deals they have on the market at the time.
Gotcha.
All right, we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor, The Language Tutor.
Hi, friends. Danny Evans here, and I want to tell you about The Language Tutor. your one-stop YouTube channel for learning languages. You ever wanted to learn Spanish or French or know someone that wants to learn English? Well, you can find great lessons for language learning on our channel, The Language Tutor. Just simply go to YouTube and type in The Language Tutor, and you'll find our channel there. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so that you'll never miss any of our great lessons that come in every single week. I hope to see you on The Language Tutor.
All right, guys, we're back. So now it's time to look at some 2020 destinations. What you got, Rob?
So there are obviously many places that you can go internationally and domestically. Domestically, though, we're going to focus on today. We're going to look at some possible options for 2020. Leading off, and these are in no these are in no order, but San Diego, as it was.
Yeah.
Consistently beautiful weather, Southern California. The San Diego Zoo. Have you ever been to the San Diego Zoo?
No.
It is awesome. And I'm not a zoo person per se, but we had the better part of the day and we thought that would be good. And we maybe saw half of the zoo, and they've built additions since then. So that is a destination in and of itself there. You've got SeaWorld, you've got Petco Park, which is the home to the San Diego Padres. It's a really unique ballpark. We took a tour. I highly recommend that. There's the Gaslamp District, which is close to Petco Park there downtown. You've got beaches, Mission Beach, Coronado Beach. You've got the boat tours. You've got hiking the sandstone cliffs of Torrey Pines State Park. And then, heck, LA is right, about an hour and a half away, depending on traffic. So that's within reach as well. But San Diego is a beautiful place to go and one that I would highly recommend.
Yeah, we actually, when I was in the Marines, I was stationed out at Camp Pendleton out there. We had, after the war, we had some time off. We had about 10 days. So we actually hitchhiked. Me and 4 other Marines hitchhiked to Hollywood.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was quite an adventure. But, we all chipped in some money and paid this guy. He was an LA firefighter. It wasn't that far, though. Drove us in. We got to grab a hotel, see a lot of stuff. It's a great area.
Yep.
Plus, you got great beaches. Like Oceanside's not a bad beach. It's near there as well. A lot of Marines, though, so that things could get spring breakish.
Well, number 2 on the list is the Grand Canyon, which is one of my favorite places in the country. There's nothing like this natural wonder. It's 277 river miles long, 18 miles wide, and a mile deep. On the south rim, it's going to be really crowded during peak times, much more crowded overall than the north rim of the Grand Canyon. It's home to the Grand Canyon Village and the well-hiked Bright Angel Trail. On the north rim, again, that's going to be less developed, but home to camping and some hardcore hiking. Because of the sparse development, though, make sure that you plan early for this one. Make your hotel reservations at least a year in advance.
What about rafting?
You can raft on the Colorado River, absolutely. There's Havasu Falls. It's a beautiful blue waterway. I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of it. It's absolutely gorgeous. There's the Grand Canyon Skywalk, which I would never do, but it's 70 feet over the canyon. It's on a semicircular bridge with a glass bottom flooring. No, thank you. But a lot of people dig it.
You and I can stay and watch while our families go.
Absolutely, yes. I will never forget when my wife and I went. It was her first time. I'd been before, but we took the Grand Canyon Railroad into the Grand Canyon area there. And where you get off, you kind of walk and you can't see anything. And then all of a sudden everything opens up and you can see the Grand Canyon. The look on her face. Yeah. It looked like a kid at Christmas. I mean, it was just, it's that much of a wonder. There's nothing else to compare it to.
That's awesome. Hey, all right. Here's a place that we went a couple years ago and my girls have just been itching to go back. Outer Banks.
Yes. OBX.
Yeah.
So it's a chain of barrier islands off the coast of North Carolina, made famous by the Wright brothers. They had their first flight at Kill Devil Hills.
Yes, been there.
Plenty of mini golf courses, beaches, highly regarded North Carolina aquarium at Roanoke Island. The pirate Blackbeard fought his last battle at, I can't pronounce, Ocracoke?
Ocracoke, yeah.
Okay, and the lost colony of Roanoke disappeared somewhere in the area. We're not
Yes.
exactly sure since they never were found. But it's a great spot for families looking for unspoiled beaches. You know, if you're looking, again, a lot of people like to go where there's crowds, but there's other people who would prefer a less crowded beach, and this is a good spot for those folks. I would think natural beauty as opposed to like beach nightlife. I mean, that's the draw there.
Yeah.
They've got wild horses that evidently run on the beaches there. I've had several clients that I've booked in there, and they all come back and love it. So that's a really good option for 2020 spring break.
It's, and I can tell you what, if you're a beach person, you're going to find the beach there.
Right.
There are nice beaches there. Usually dunes are all along the beach, between the beach and the road.
Right.
So you're driving down the road, and by the way, if you're going to make a trip to Outer Banks, you finally get there and you think we're here, but then you've still got miles and miles just to really get into the inner part of Outer Banks,
Right.
where all the restaurants are and all those things. But there are some great restaurants and great places for the beach. We actually rented a house. It was about a 3-story house, and it was sitting on water, but of course it wasn't right on the beach. But
Right.
Great place for biking. So definitely a great consideration. Now, here's one we hear all about, the
Right.
Bahamas.
Yes. And it's funny because most people, when you say Bahamas, they think Nassau. They
Yes.
think Atlantis.
Yeah.
But the Bahamas are made up of roughly 700 islands. That when the last hurricane that came through and hit, a lot of people had a hard time understanding because there were several parts. Like I think Nassau was, I wouldn't say unaffected, but they weren't as affected. They've stayed open. A lot of their attractions. People don't understand. There's 700 islands.
Yeah.
Beautiful beaches, duty-free shops, fishing, scuba diving. You can even swim with pigs if that's the thing that you want to do.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah. Those are just some of the attractions, though. Nature enthusiasts can explore the Leon Levy Plant Preserve. Bargain hunters can enjoy haggling to their heart's content. Many of the marketplace. My mother-in-law loves to haggle when we go to the Bahamas.
Yeah.
I hate that. I cannot stand that. Just tell me what the price is. I don't know if I want to buy it or not. I'm not going to sit there but she loves it, and she'll walk away with stuff going, "Hey, I only paid $2 for this," and it's like, well, it's a carving of a dolphin with someone. I don't want that, but okay, that's great.
See, I'm a people person, and I'm a kind of a sucker, I guess, because of it. I always go into it, like these people, a lot of times they don't have a lot of money.
Sure.
And they're trying to make a living.
Right.
And I hate to bring the price down on them. Give them, if it's reasonable, I'm just going to go ahead and pay it.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker. I'll
See me, I'm just going to walk away. I'm like, I just want to go swim somewhere. All right. Atlantis. That is a hugely popular mega resort where you can swim, and you can also swim with the dolphins at Blue Lagoon, which is close to Atlantis. And I'll have to say, the last time that we went to the Bahamas was on a cruise. That was one of our ports of call. And my wife and daughter and my in-laws were going to swim with the dolphins. Now I'm thinking, I mean, that sounds cool, but the price, it was pretty steep, right?
Yeah.
At the Blue Lagoon. And I thought, man, I just watch.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not really, plus I didn't want to kill any poor dolphins trying to push around my fluffiness. And so I didn't do it, and that's something I still regret to this day.
Yeah.
My father-in-law was just giggling like a schoolgirl as the dolphins were pushing him through the water. I mean, it really is an amazing experience. You get to pet the dolphins, you learn a little bit about the dolphins, and then they'll push you through the water. So,
Right. Now, I just throw this in. We rented a pontoon boat outside of Panama City once, and we were in this bay, and there were dolphins around.
Yeah.
And my friend decided just to jump in the water with them. And these are, they're not trained. They're just actually in the wild dolphins.
Right.
So I don't know if there's a downside to that, but, I wasn't really a fan of doing that.
Well, I think dolphins are highly intelligent creatures, but I don't know how much they like to just have random people jump in the water if they're not trained to be around people. That he didn't wind up in the hospital or...
No, it disappeared.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
sure.
we said, it's coming up behind you. And he said, no, it's not. And he turned around and, well, there was this huge,
The dolphin got the drop out of it.
swimming by him. And needless to say, he was little bit terrifying.
Oh man. Well, that's just some of the things that you can do in the Bahamas. You've got the deep blue waters of the Atlantic on some of the islands. And the southern side, you've got the calm turquoise green waters of the Exuma Sound around there. You cannot go wrong going to the Bahamas.
All right, let's move back inland. Talk a little bit about Orlando.
Because we never talk about Orlando.
We never talk about Disney, man. No.
Well, and that's the thing with Orlando. It's so much more than Disney. It's really becoming the family travel capital, but there's so much to see and do.
Yeah.
You know, Walt Disney, we're just about in 2021 to enter the 50th anniversary of Magic Kingdom and Epcot. If you've ever been to Disney during one of their anniversary years, I mean, they don't need much of an excuse to throw a celebration. No. That's kind of what they do. But when it is a milestone year for them, they really go all out. So 2021 is definitely going to be a good spot, a good time to go. But 2020, there's still so much to see. You've got a Star Wars themed area that we've talked about, Galaxy's Edge, the new Skyliner, the gondola system that's going to help with travel in the park. You've got new resorts, you've got new attractions, and then they are completely reimagining Epcot, which we've talked about. So they're in the process of that. And then you move over to Universal. If you've got kids that are Harry Potter fans, this is where you want to go. The themed areas there, they include the new Hagrid. I'm not a Harry Potter guy. Is that right?
We'll go with that.
Okay. Magical Creatures motorbike adventure. So you can either ride as like you're riding a motorcycle, or it's got one of those, what do you call the extra little cabin thing? The scout seat. Is that what
I'm not helping you at all.
No, you're looking at me like, go see where you got to go with this.
Huh?
It's the little seat you can ride in that. So you can either drive the bike, or you can sit in the little scout seat there.
But, and you're talking about the 50th coming up for Disney.
Yeah.
That opened the year I was born.
Wow.
So what does that tell you?
Wow. It means we need to get one of those Lordy Danny's 50. I don't know how that works.
It's nifty, but anyway, I'm
nifty
hearing a
50?
sad trombone playing right now after I say that. But
that's a loud trombone.
There it was. Danny's got to be 50 next year.
But Universal's got new resorts, including the Endless Summer Resorts, where you can get incredible value at these resorts, and they're very nice. Universal's also announced plans, like we've talked about, for the fourth park called Epic Universe. And then beyond Universal and Disney, their SeaWorld gives you a third option. They've got new rides and experiences like the new Sesame Street Land.
Oh, yeah. You cannot go wrong there.
No. Park guests can be transported to the bold and colorful creative land. SeaWorld's launched a coaster called the Icebreaker and a dueling water racer ride called the Riptide Race. That'll be on the way this year. So plenty to do in Orlando. I mean, again, that's just the tip of the iceberg. You can go downtown. When the last time that we were down there, my wife and I took in a Orlando City soccer game. They were playing Atlanta. Of course, Atlanta won. You've got Legoland Florida. That's another option in the Orlando area where you have a chance for your pint-sized Lego builders to just play. Pirate Sword for 2020. You can stay in the new Pirate Island Hotel and attend a new Pirate Fest weekend. So if you've got a little pirate that likes Legos, you can go. And then they have a new ski show in Pirates Cove. So
very cool.
Yes. So all of that, that they have the Eye of Orlando, the big Ferris wheel. There's just so much to do in Orlando. You could literally spend 3 or 4 weeks there and not do the same thing twice.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go back to the other coast for a minute. I've thought about going out to the YouTube conference this coming summer.
Yeah.
It's going to be in Anaheim.
Yes.
But I'm kind of wondering what's in Anaheim.
Right. Anaheim is really a cool spot. There's something about the original Disneyland. It doesn't have as many family-friendly options as the Orlando counterpart, but it has a ton to offer. If you're a fan of nostalgia, which is really one thing that Disney sells very well, is nostalgia.
Definitely.
And I mean, it was the first. They can build all kind of fun parks all over the world, but there's never going to be another number one. So. Galaxy's Edge is now open. Both rides are open in Disneyland. California Adventure. So I think which Disney park you like has a lot to do with where you were raised and which one you grew up going to.
Probably so.
I, growing up on the East Coast and have gone to Disney World way too many times. That's my favorite. But California Adventure, of all the parks, is probably my favorite.
Okay.
I went for a site visit with the travel agency that I work with, and wasn't able to take either of my sons, and I really hate it because they love cars. Mm-hmm. So Radiator Springs, they have built at California Adventure, and it is awesome. So if you have Cars fans, that is where you want to go. And then Pixar Pier, I forget what it used to be called, but they've got the Incredicoaster, which is a really cool roller coaster. They've got all kinds of options based on the Pixar movies. They've got Toy Story Mania like they have it in Orlando.
Which is totally awesome.
It is awesome. And then, so Disneyland doesn't have as many official resorts as Orlando, nowhere close. They've got 3. 2 of which I highly recommend. The Grand Californian is actually attached to California Adventure. So you have your own entrance that you can, if you're staying at California Adventure, you can go into the park there.
Oh, that's convenient.
Yeah. And then Disneyland Hotel, which was the first official Disney resort, lots of history in that hotel. So those are 2 that I highly recommend. And then beyond Disney, you've got Knott's Berry Farm and Adventureland. Those are 2 much more economical, much, I don't want to say cheaper. Yeah. But they're options if you want a little more value there. Mm-hmm. You've also got the beaches of Huntington, Oceanside, and Laguna. Yeah. Those are all close. And then you've got the sightseeing that you want to do in Southern California. If you want to do the whole Hollywood thing, that's there. You've got Universal Hollywood. And then again, San Diego is 100 miles away. So well, just to give myself a little shameless plug here, I would love to help you plan your next vacation. So if you're planning your next vacation, please drop me a line and let me help you plan that vacation. My services are always free to my clients. Just drop me a line at rob@thefamilyvacationer.live.
And join us on our next episode when we take a look at all-inclusives. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to The Family Vacationer. Make sure and subscribe to hear more of Rob and Danny.